Welcome to the latest update on the KapVista Klips with SecuGuard AI. Welcome, Adnan. How are you?
Good, thanks, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So I wanted to get a bit of an update on what you're building because there is a rapid rise in AI tech, and there is some cool things coming out. But from the consumer point of view, people are seeing ChatGPT, and let me ask how to write this email, and what are your thoughts on this? But there's some really cool AI tech that's working behind the scenes that people may not know about, and you're building something that has real world use cases. Let's get into that. Tell me about the world that you're in. Tell me about your current customers and what their current process times are, and the problem that you're solving and how you're solving it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a background of deep tech in digital and cyber, and I've spent years working for the likes of Big Fours, PwC, and Deloitte, helping clients with their cybersecurity risk um, space, especially with
Yeah.
clients that are heavily regulated and where they have compliance requirements, clients that run critical infrastructure or systems of national significance where the cybersecurity requirements, you can say, are defense grade.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So what we've done with the SecuGuard is looked at this problem of risk assessments and how long it takes and all um, the challenges that come with it, and we've used AI to solve those challenges, and it brings almost uh, so our solution is almost like a convergence of these three mega trends. If you look at AI, you look at cybersecurity, and then you look at regulatory compliance in this sector,
Yeah.
and we've kind of joined them together in our solution.
So you're focusing on the regulatory compliance side for cybersecurity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So think of and I'm gonna tell me if I'm wrong, but um, for big corporates, for governments, for Fortune 500 companies, they need to implement a cybersecurity uh, procedure policy
Yes.
to
Hmm.
make sure that they are covered.
Yes.
Now, the regulatory side of these cybersecurity procedures,
Yes.
you have built an AI platform to manage, to implement, to
Yes.
to to, to okay.
Yes. Exactly
And
that.
yeah, and these are companies or governments that have thousands of employees. So they're trying to maintain. Uh, they are looking at how they implement their cybersecurity, and generally that is a long term process, a very manpower heavy,
Hmm.
time wise heavy on how they implement these cybersecurity platforms, these processes and protocols. You know, it's a long and tedious process, and you've built a platform to shorten that, to strengthen the regulatory side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the regulatory side of it, and one of the main use cases is what we call security risk assessments.
Yep.
Um, and these are, again, compliance requirements. So I'll give you an example where one of my customers is Department of Energy. And Department of Energy, let's say, has about 600 applications.
Yeah. And what are these applications?
So these applications can be anything from your IT applications in terms of your mail, your CRM systems. For example, could be Salesforce implementation, could be SAP implementations in terms of
So
ERP.
the Department of Energy has, and I'm trying to understand this as a common man. I'm not from the cybersecurity world. So they've got different systems that they need to use. So like you said, Salesforce or their email systems or Word, Excel, that sort of
Yeah.
thing that they need to keep secure. Correct?
They need to keep secure, but also they need to make sure that they comply with the cybersecurity framework that is that applies to that particular industry.
Okay, so there's a set of government rules
Yes,
that are set out not just in the government sector but also in the private sector. So corporates and things like
exactly.
that, they have to guide, they have to abide by corporate or government rules around cybersecurity to protecting of information, GW, what is it, GDRP, that sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and they need to make sure that their data is secure, but they're also complying with these government regulations.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly right.
and your platform. So this is a need. It doesn't matter what company it is. Doesn't matter what country it is. There is some sort of government rules and a need for them to comply. Otherwise, I assume there's huge fines and other financial implications that they need to.
Yes, absolutely. And uh, uh, and most of these compliance requirements actually come from legislation. They can
Okay.
be act of parliament as well, and there's a lot of emphasis nowadays on this. Recently, some governments have even um, brought in jail term for
Okay.
directors,
Yeah.
and that's happening now all over the world. Previously, it was fines or asking them to uplift their security, but now it's actually going a step further. Uh,
So real world context. This would be something like the Optus data breach.
exactly.
So the Optus data breach, there was lapses in their cybersecurity and the protocols around it,
Yes.
which led to the data being breached, and hackers were able to steal personal customers' information, and there was fines, massive fines imposed from the government on companies like this. So what your software does is make sure that the regulatory side of cybersecurity is being met. So how with let's say Optus, for example, how would your platform help?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things is that um, uh, uh, there's a move in the industry to go from compliance first to resilient first.
Yep.
Yep. So although we absolutely help with the compliance, we take it a bit further. We make sure that the organization is resilient um, as well. Sometimes people can take compliance as tick in the box, and that's where we don't want it just to be tick in the box. We want it to
Yep.
go one step further. Now, in terms of our software, like I said, one of the main use cases is what we call security risk assessment, and typically a security analyst will do the assessment, and usually they will have to go through hundreds of pages of
Yep.
documentation, looking at multiple systems, looking at the security control library that applies to that particular organization or industry, and then go through, looking at the risk and mapping them to the controls, and then, giving it to a implementation team to say, okay, now go implement these security measures.
Okay.
That cycle can take anywhere from 6 weeks to, longer, 3 months. In some organizations, we've seen it take much longer with multiple resources actually doing this work, and that's something that I've done for years for organizations as
So
well.
I assume that process where you said 3 months, maybe longer, takes not just one person, it takes tens, 20s, 30 people across different parts of the business,
Yes.
all having to put inputs in and then approvals. And so why it takes that long is because so many people need to have the checks and balances and
Oh, absolutely. And even the security consultants, they need to go through the technical documentation and the technicalities of it. What our software does is you can think of it as a highly, highly trained, experienced security analyst, cybersecurity analyst, assisting the human security analyst.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So you give our software, uh, the information that the organization has in terms of technical documentation, in terms of other documentation, and it uses that, it contextualizes it, it understands it, and then it will assist the human in terms of what are the risks in the system that we're assessing.
Yeah. So if you did this, what are the regulatory risks that you're facing if you did this? If you did this, what are the... So it basically, I want to give it a... So people can understand, it A/B tests the regulatory... Not A/B test, but you understand that where I'm coming from, that it tests. If you do this, it does that. If you do this, it does that. This is where your risks are. This is what you're potentially facing at every single point.
Absolutely. But it also does a two-way communication with the security analyst in terms of, exactly like what you've said, is if there is any information missing that it wants, it'll ask you.
Yeah. Okay.
Or it will make suggestions in terms of, I'll give you an example where, let's say there's a document storage system within the whole system.
Yep.
And the system documentation that was provided to our software does not specify what sort of encryption or what sort of security controls are on that document management system. It will actually come back to you and ask, say, can you give me more information here?
So you may not see the risk, but the system sees the risks and says, "Hey,
the system sees the risk." But also, we take it further where, we can have a conversation with our software, or the security analyst will have a conversation saying, I don't know, but I know who knows. Maybe can you reach out to that team? Here's the email. And that team can provide the information.
Okay.
So you can think of it as that's why it's AI, it's artificial intelligence, but you can think of it as a living, highly experienced security analyst that can also do all the tasks of reaching out to people, gathering information, contextualizing it. And that's the power of agentic AI, and that's where AI
Yeah.
is really going.
Okay, so you're taking a manual process that involves tens, if not hundreds, of people over a 6 weeks to 6 month process, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
You're shortening it into how long?
Oh, we can potentially shorten it to, about 2 weeks.
Okay,
Um,
so
of, of,
from 6 months to 2 weeks, from
yeah.
100 people down to five.
Absolutely. In
Yeah,
some cases,
yeah,
yes. Yeah, in
yeah,
some cases, yes, that's absolutely true.
yeah,
But it's not only the return on investment in time of in terms of money.
yeah,
There are other qualitative benefits in terms of um, the consistency
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Yeah,
outputs.
and the quality of the information, the accuracy, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But what I want to emphasize is that this is uh, we're building this from ground up in an agentic AI framework, which is
Yep.
very different from bolting on a little AI chat assist that
Yeah.
comes
So
on the side.
this is
Because
not
yeah,
this is not a smart googling chatbot. This is a ground up system. It's not just an add on. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
and the difference really is that in a typical SaaS or a GRC type of application,
Yep.
all the workflows are coded and they're fixed. The business logic is
Yep.
fixed. In the new paradigm, the business logic is within the AI engine.
Yep.
So there's
Okay.
no fixed workflow. It's very similar to humans interacting, because when humans interact, it's actually not a fixed linear
Okay.
workflow.
Okay. And then this is needed by every large company and government on the planet.
Yes. So I'll take an example of Victoria, where I
Yep.
am in Australia.
Yep.
So Victoria has Victorian data protection framework
Yes.
that all Victorian government agencies must comply with, and there are about 230 Victorian government agencies, and each one of them needs it. Um,
So 230, 240, you said? Government
about
agency?
about 230 government
Yep.
agencies that need
So
it
each
just in Victoria.
agency just in Victoria needs your platform.
Every agency just in Victoria needs our platform. So we've done a little bit of research, because for MVP, we're just targeting the Victorian state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and our total addressable market is about 1.5 billion US dollars just
Just
in
in Victoria.
just in Victoria. Um, and we believe that with our MVP, we can capture about 35 million US dollar of the market just in Victoria. If we go Australia wide, which is our plan for release 2,
Yep.
we believe that we can capture about 140 million US dollars of, and the total addressable market in Australia is about 6 billion US dollars.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if we go global, so the idea is that we test it out in Victoria, we slowly move
Yep.
to rest of Australia, and we go global. Once we go global, the addressable market is 250 billion US dollars. And even if we capture like 5% of the market, we're talking about 3 billion
Yeah.
US US dollars
Yeah.
in annual revenue.
Yeah. So this is, and I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, and we'll wrap it up here. But this gives a really good context that this is a platform that sits behind the scenes, that is not flashy. It's not your canvas and your this is something like what, and as an investor wants to think about this, this is something like what Atlassian built. It is Atlassian built software for software developers. You're building software for cybersecurity analysts, and this is something that is a huge market. Once you're in, it's sticky. Companies need you because it saves time, money, resources. As you said, there's 230 departments just in Victorian government that needs you. That's not including, private companies in Victoria that need you. This is a platform that is a huge market that's behind the mainstream, if you will. Enterprise software at its finest.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. This is so from an investor's point of view, this is something that once you're in the government, it is hard for them to go back to something else. So it's sticky. They keep renewing the contracts because that you save so much time and money and resources, which is what governments should be working a lot more efficiently. And you're building a monster behind the scenes.
Exactly right.
Did I get that right? Okay, perfect. All right, this is very interesting. I think if you've come from the corporate world, you understand that companies pay a lot of money for software, and they just keep renewing it. So, and there are multiple teams within these huge companies that would need this software.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main buyers, uh, in terms of the individuals,
Yep.
would be your chief risk officers or your head of cyber or your chief information security
Yep.
officers would be the main ones. We are in a position where we've actually demoed the product to potential customers. One of the potential customers runs critical energy infrastructure in
Yep.
Australia, and the feedback from their head of cyber was, just um, his word is just brilliant, absolutely
Yep.
brilliant. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for jumping on. This is a great insight into what you're building because if you are not from the cyber world like myself, you would see this and you say, okay, I understand it's an AI platform, but I don't understand how it's being used. This video is just giving me an insight on how it's being used, and it's fantastic. So thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to chat to you, and I'm excited about technology that people get excited about the Airtaskers and the Airwallets of the world, but I like the software that's behind the scenes that can build quite quickly, and the revenue ticks up and it's very sticky. I like that. So thank you very much for the explanation. It's great to chat.
Likewise.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.